Bienvenidos al podcast de Newport School. Estás a punto de aprender estrategias innovadoras para la educación de tus hijos.
Hola familias Newport, mi nombre es Simón Flórez, coordinador de bachillerato de Newport School y voy a ser su anfitrión para esta nueva temporada de podcast. En esta oportunidad tendremos la oportunidad de conversar con Vicky y Ángela, quienes pertenecen a ASU, Arizona State University, la universidad número 1 de innovación en los Estados Unidos, con quien hemos realizado un convenio para tener un currículo americano adaptado a nuestro plan de estudios colombiano. Durante este espacio tendremos la oportunidad de expandir la información que tenemos acerca de esta alianza entre Newport School y ASU. Bienvenidos. Okay, so thanks for joining us today. At this moment, I am with Vicky and with Angela. They work for ASU, Arizona State University, which is one of our partners for our high school curriculum. So I'd like to welcome both of them. And we're going to proceed with some questions we have for you regarding how does ASU curriculum work for our students. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course. Happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you so much. Good morning and good morning, Colombia.
We're very happy to be here right now with you. So our first question will be, what does the alliance with Arizona State University consist of? Is it a curriculum? Is it an alliance? Is it a program? Exactly what it is.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking these sort of overarching questions. And, I think one of the things that we really want to make sure that we position this partnership correctly, right? Our goal at Arizona State University is to leverage the technology and the resource that we have as a Research One university to provide access, excellence, and opportunity for all students on all levels of education, right? So we began this conversation with middle school and high school, within sort of this Red Card network. But at the same time, we really want to strategically position this collaboration so that all students can actually understand and experience the benefit of utilizing technology in classrooms. So I think curriculum is definitely something that is very foundation to all schools, right? Beyond borders. Every school have curriculum, every school have, teachers, right? So these are some of the common denominators that we cannot oversight in this bigger spectrum of education. So curriculum is something that we start, but our goal is actually to provide the curriculum so that your schools can quickly localize that curriculum and utilize that and integrate it into your teaching, right? So this is not really about ASU coming in saying that we're the best and just, do what we do. This is really about ASU saying, hey, we're partners. Why don't we do this together so that we can make the experiences better for your students, right? I mean, I am the director for international programs and I work with students from around the world. Every school have a different set of agenda, right? Every school wants students to achieve a different set of goals. So how do we work together, right, to achieve those goals? This is not about aligning everything to ASU Prep Digital. This is really about how can we partner so that we can create the most exceptional experience for your students.
Okay, that's very interesting. And based on that, our students have access to what type of material? Is it interactive material? Is it multimedia? Is it documents? What type of materials are available for Newport students?
All of it, right? So our courses are completely 100% built out as digital courses. Now, you can see these courses in two ways. One way is for your students to actually have these self-paced experiences where they actually learn on their own terms, right? Another way to look at it is really a vast massive content library that's already digitized, right? So that your teachers and your administrators and your team can actually go in and pull these content from the library to show your students another way of learning. I don't want to avoid the conversation of what we have been through during COVID, right? But we also have to look forward to see what COVID has actually brought the good side of what had turned out, right? Because we have to move forward with the mindset of growth, right? With the mindset of increasingly pushing students to the future of education, right? So this is a great way of providing the resources by Arizona State University and empower the teachers, which is extremely important. Throughout COVID, we start to realize the role of teachers, the role of parents, right? All in this ecosystem of learning experience. So how do we actually provide them enough resources to empower this experience is what we're doing. So your students have access to everything that our students have access to.
I like to take a minute to add, because you ask, what does the student have access to? And I like to say that student have access to a new experience. If you think about it, technology in the classroom, delivery of knowledge, of the delivery of the education, and you combine that together with all the things that we have learned in the last couple of years, I think what you are offering your students with this partnership is a new learning experience. And that is something that we are really working together. It's not something that is just coming from the university, but like Angela mentioned, this is a true partnership with Red Call. And how do we make sure that our students and your teachers and the parents are experiencing a new learning environment?
Okay, thank you very much for that answer. My next question would be, if any of you could answer, it's that the Colombian curriculum and the American curriculums are of course different. How does this partnership take those differences into account, and how can your curriculum be suitable for our students?
Yeah, so I can start this, and then I'd love for Vicky to add to this because she's more experienced in the local curriculum and the local styles. So our goal with the curriculum, again, curriculum is the foundation of what we do, right? But this is really about empowering teachers and empowering students, right? So the way that our curriculum is developed is really with the goal in mind for students to become more self-directed learners. So our goal is a little bit of a I wouldn't say it's a further, right? It's a longer term goal because it's habitual. It's the habits of learning. It's how can you stay motivated. It's building that grit, right? Which is so important for students to move forward, because I'm sure that Red Call is a great experience, but at some point they graduate and they're going to have to move forward. And what you want them to carry away is not necessarily a U.S. curriculum or a Caribbean, Columbia curriculum. Is really this goal of being a learner, right? And continue their learning moving forward and having these good habits and skills. So our goal is, again, not to have the students in Columbia to stick with a purely international or purely US based curriculum. This is really about integration, right? So we work with teachers for them to understand what we offer, right? There are several ways of using the curriculum, again, right? The teacher can look at the curriculum and say, well, this is helpful, but this is not exactly where our assessment standard is. Well, they can actually customize the assessment standard within our curriculum. That doesn't change the integrity of the curriculum. And the other way of looking at the curriculum is most of our curriculum actually have the choice of alternative lessons. So when you have students who might be a little bit behind or might be a little bit more advanced than the rest of the class, you can actually encourage them to learn on their own pace, right? Because this is online, this is built, this is 100% accessible. wherever, whenever, however, right? So the teachers then have a set of tools to actually enable that learning with different methodology and different modalities so that students have a way to actually, again, develop the learning habits that they need to carry forward, right? So yes, I admit that there are differences, but at the same time, I think our goal is really how the skill set and the mastery levels can actually mash together so that students are actually experiencing these formative assessment throughout, right? And teachers don't have to spend, a year developing these sort of things because it's already developed.
One thing that I want you to keep in mind, and I know you asked like the differences, but I also like to think about what are the similarities. So what are some of those things that not only we share, and I can tell you, because I'm from Colombia, I was raised in the system from 30 years ago, where you sit right behind each other, and God forbid you actually raise your hand, right, to ask a question. The way the classrooms look now and the way they should be are completely different than the way that we think of Colombian education or even the U.S. education from 20 years ago. So the classroom experience has to be different. And one thing that we do is to make sure it is different. But it's also a personalized approach so that we have the way that our students are being trained and the students and the way the faculty is being trained is a completely different delivery and it's a completely different approach so that everyone is learning at their own pace, that students are not feeling like they have to compete against the other students, but it also feels like they're competing, with themselves, that they're making sure that they're learning and progressing in the way they need to be. If you think about it, when you were in a classroom, even 5 years ago, if you raise your hand, if you were lucky enough to get called and,
yes.
The student next to you is like, oh, good, someone else got the answer. I don't have to worry about, giving the right answer. I don't even have to worry about knowing because someone else is getting that and taking care of that. Now in the classroom today, and with the tools and the technology that we have to offer, everyone has the opportunity to learn and everyone has the opportunity to contribute to the classroom, and the teacher can actually track that. You use the data to adjust and you use the data that you're gaining to make adjustments as you go.
I couldn't agree more with the answer that you provided, and I would like to come up with a follow-up question based on my previous question, and it's how does the curriculum integrate to the university experience? Because that's something our high school students are very looking forward.
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I think that just like Vicky mentioned, this is really about a student-centered approach, right? I think in the last decade or even longer, right? Because we've been in school forever, and this is probably the oldest institution ever, right? Like education systems around the world. And how do we actually take that and challenge that and really make sure that it works with students today, right? Because students are different. My daughter is very friendly with the iPad and she knows more than I do, right? Like she's 3. And I think we just have to recognize the fact that technology has already gone beyond education, and we have to figure out a way to actually utilize the technology a little bit better. This does not mean that every teacher has to be an instructional designer, meaning that it doesn't mean that they have to develop their own curriculum online. It means that we're going to have to bridge these gaps by using technology and use what's readily available online, right? And that's where ed tech steps in. As far as integration with the university, we are embedded. ASU Prep Digital is embedded as part of Arizona State University. We work with the university proper to actually develop these courses, right? This is not just about working with Teachers College to figure out what is the best instructional design available online. This is not just about, working with the cutting edge theories so that we can adjust our pedagogy online to make sure that teachers are able to, enable students and engage with students. And I think Vicky just mentioned the student engagement part is so important, right? Because this is not about, teachers getting together, designing a test to make sure some students fail. This is about teachers getting together and working with a set of curriculum and the possibilities for students to succeed. And every step of the way, students are seeing how they're succeeding themselves, and that is what keeps them motivated, right, to learn more, to get more, to do more. So I think this is really about utilizing the resources that we have as a research university and utilizing the data and the research outcomes to actually integrate that into our curriculum so that teachers around the world and students around the world can have the best experience. And of course, in addition to that, students are able to take college level courses through ASU Prep Digital as well. Since we are part of the university at large, we actually do offer students who are ready to take college courses. Now, I don't want to make this sound like as long as your students take some college courses, they're going to be college ready, because this college readiness takes a culture, right? So how can we, and that's, the next level of conversation with Red Call and the network of schools too, how do we help these schools to create a college going culture? Because culture is much harder to create and it takes a lot longer. It's beyond teachers' instruction, it's beyond curriculum, it's beyond content, right? So inserting these college courses might be helpful in the beginning, but how do we make sure students are motivated to actually get there, right, is important. So we are basing our collaboration on curriculum and sort of this foundations for education systems, but at the same time, we're innovating, right, and figuring out ways to connect students to higher educational opportunities in the meantime.
And that's something that honestly, I'm super passionate about, because that is what actually changed my life as a Colombian who came to the US. So providing those opportunities and really sharing the knowledge with others is what really drives this partnership to begin with. We want to make sure that your students can, be the global citizens that we all want our students to become, and create those pathways to college and to college access.
That's a purpose, I think, both ASU and Newport, we agree that this issue of the global citizenship, that's something very important for us. Something that our community is very curious about, it's that the subjects that we currently have applied in your curriculum would be math, English, and science. Why those areas were prioritized? Why not other areas?
I think we started with these areas that have more of a universal knowledge, right?
Okay.
I have to tell you that, math is going to be math, whether it's in Colombia, in Taiwan, or in the US. Algebra 2 is Algebra 2, right? So there are some foundational courses that will allow students and teachers to practice. I have to say here that, transitioning to a high-tech environment is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. This is not that you got the newest iPhone and then you just use it and then the next day you're like carrying it around as if you have known how to use it for a long time, right? This is not that. This is a process that has to be built. This is a culture that has to be cultivated, right? Like it has to be developed. So I think the main key here is that how can we start with these foundational projects that will allow students to see more, and then we plan more inside of that, right, and grow from there. If you have ever taken a language immersion program, right, when you do a bilingual language immersion, you don't just do English all the way the first day, right? You actually start with the language that you're familiar with, and then you transition the students slowly. So we are actually looking at the expansion of developing more of the career side of like the technology and career skill development with our courses. Yes. We also offer project-based learning courses that are hugely popular in the US right now, and I think will soon be everywhere. I think students are now expected to not just graduate from high school or graduate from middle school with the set of academic knowledge, but also a set of mastering skill set. So we can actually help to develop that as well with the school. But so I think that the subjects that you mentioned are just really the foundation, and it's more common for us to get them to the point where they're familiar with the system, they're familiar of how to implement and utilize the content. Then we can move forward to the next level of contents.
There's something important you mentioned, and it's the Pvo methodology. At Newport, we are a Pvo school, so we're certainly very looking forward to improve and expand the capabilities of project-based learning as much as we can.
Of course.
I just wanted to add that we listen to the students, so keep that in mind. Not just the teachers and not the school administrators. We listen to what the students want, and so we have lots of fun courses, electives, things that our high school students and even our kindergarten students are interested in. I mean, think about it. There's something like robotics and video gaming, theater, and other electives that students really want to take. So that is a conversation and an ongoing process that we look forward to.
Okay, I have one more question. In this case, it goes specifically for Vicky. Vicky, we know you're a Colombian living in the U.S., so actually we would like if this answer could be in Spanish, so for all of our families to understand perfectly. So I'm going to ask you in Spanish as well.
Okay.
¿Cómo participan las familias de esta alianza? Los padres de familia, ¿cómo se pueden vincular a la alianza entre Newport y ASU?
Esta pregunta es muy importante. Quiero que pienses en cómo los padres de familia participaban en la educación y el proceso de enseñanza hace 2 años. Tú tienes que ver que las cosas han cambiado mucho en estos 2 años, porque los padres se vieron forzados al principio, pero también vieron la oportunidad de participar en el proceso de enseñanza de sus hijos, y no solamente yendo a una reunión de padres o viendo el boletín al final del semestre. No, ellos se vieron integrados en cómo están aprendiendo sus hijos, qué están aprendiendo sus hijos y qué es lo que los padres de familia quieren que sus hijos aprendan y cómo. Porque no es solamente leer un libro y no es solamente ir a clase y hacer una tarea, es ver cómo estos contenidos, esta información se puede aplicar en el mundo real y cómo estos, y me perdonas mi español porque es un poco atrasado.
No, está excelente.
Cómo estos conceptos realmente se aplican. Porque eso es lo que nosotros queremos como padres. Queremos que nuestros hijos aprendan que las matemáticas se pueden aplicar en el proceso de un negocio, en el proceso de comprar y vender, que el lenguaje nos va a ayudar en muchas áreas, que las ciencias sociales son una conexión a lo que realmente pasa en el mundo todos los días. Y los padres ahora tienen esa habilidad, tienen ese conocimiento y quieren cosas distintas. Ellos quieren participar y se dieron cuenta que, en estos últimos 2 años no pueden sentarse y esperar que los profesores en el colegio o los administradores están haciendo todo. Ahora ellos quieren ser parte de este proceso.
Vicky, Angela, thank you so much for taking the time to share all your knowledge about this curriculum and to let our families have more information about this alliance between Newport School of Red Call and Arizona State University. We were very happy to have you here. Once again, thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for this invitation and muchas gracias por esta oportunidad.
Muy bien, familias Newport, esperamos entonces que hayan tenido la oportunidad de enterarse un poco más acerca de esta alianza que hemos firmado con la Universidad número 1 de Innovación en Estados Unidos. Esperamos verles nuevamente en una próxima oportunidad de esta nueva temporada de podcast. Un feliz día para todos.